pro's pro.
Yeah.
A
Now,
pro's pro.
the Arsenio Hall show, I remember it wasn't long ago, and I don't know what it was. I was on YouTube because it seems like that's where I live my life. And I love documentaries and things like that, just as we're doing here. This kind of stuff I find a lot of interest in. And I don't know who was doing this, but I think they were kind of a big podcaster with music and musicians. And Gary Corbett was on there. I seen it maybe a month or two before his death, but I don't know when it was actually shot. And he was saying at that time that, he was the one, not necessarily with the Deb camp, but just in general, being a keyboard player in that industry, he was really pushing the MIDI stuff. It was all new, and he tried to stay on the cutting edge with that stuff.
Yeah, he was very, he knew a lot about that stuff. And that's probably one of the reasons, well, the first tour we had a mic'd grand piano for her. It works, but it's more difficult in an arena type of setting. At least back in 1989 it was. So whatever brand piano, she might have had a Baldwin. It could have been a Yamaha. But it had strings in it, but the strings triggered MIDI. So she didn't have to stick microphones inside the piano, but I guess it was playing samplers in the back. We had racks of S900s. They were the old Akai samplers, and might have had 10 of those backstage, and then another rack for the other keyboards. Probably had about 20 of those backstage, just those samplers. And it's not like today where everything could be like on a laptop. You just run a MIDI cable and it could have any sound. You had a 25-pound thing that's rack space, 3 rack spaces by 19-inch. You have 10 of them because each one only holds like a little, the floppy disks. They hold like 1.5 megabytes.
Yeah.
So we'd have the crew guys back there, and they'd have to be popping in these things for the sounds for the next song. Let them load. They load, and blah, blah. But we had it down. It was like science. So there was there wasn't any
lag,
delay,
clockwork.
It's like song 1, okay, song 2. They're already loading those, but that really needed a good keyboard tech to do that. Somebody was on top of it that didn't drop the ball. And the Arsenio Hall show, they didn't drop the ball on that. That might have been a power glitch error or something.
Uncontrollable.
Those guys were just on top of it. They were really good. And the thing with the piano at Madison Square Garden, that was friggin' union work up there. And hey, man, I love the union. I was a union member back then. I'm not anymore though. So.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm in Texas, man. We don't. I guess it's right to work. If I go to Nashville, I usually work for friends, so it's.
And yeah.
Zip zip.
Yeah. And a lot of people, with me being who I am, and what I mean by that is I was born in '73, so I'm a kid of the '80s, but I was always taught by mom and dad, that were, taught, I guess, in a roundabout way that, 60s music and how everything worked as far as bands and things like that. So I have a huge love for 60s. 50s, you're dancing a little too far back for me with the 50s. Yeah. No disrespect to those people. It's just I can't grasp it.
Yeah.
So, the 80s was my thing. So I guess it was kind of a bad thing for me to have grown up in the 80s, because when you're an impressionable kid at 13, 14, you're in a decade. As I had said, everything is in excess. Guns N' Roses, I should say Slash, and November Rain. I remember them saying that they did, I think, that song has got like 4 guitar solos or something like that. And Slash comes out, he's on the edge of that mountain, and he throw a Les Paul off, $3 to $5 grand. And I think they said that he ended up throwing 8 of those things off. So, it was just.
I wonder if they were real ones. You think they were real?
Well, that
Could be, I
It was the
guess.
80s. It probably was. Everybody done. Everybody never smoked. Cannabis. They smoked cannabis until they could get to the heroin. Everything or cocaine. Everything was in such excess. You
Yeah.
know, and where my mom and dad come up from a different era. You know, the 80s made everything glamorous, and
Mm.
it really wasn't. There was a lot of
Hmm.
hard times in the 80s. Factories were taking a shit, and
Yeah.
it was a hard time for a lot of people's folks then, but it was magical to us to watch as
Yeah.
entertainment. But to actually have the ambition to get the hell out of Indiana and actually make it, it wasn't there. Because
Yeah.
you were watching this glamorous life and you thought you could just walk into it. Now, a lot of people, a lot of famous people had come out of Indiana. Michael Jackson, Axl Rose, David Lee Roth, Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses, I believe.
Sure.
There's a lot of people, but they left. No
Yeah.
one stays here. So
That was.
I would think New York would be, or a bigger city, would be great. And all of those people now, and I'm bringing that all the way into Nashville. That's where all these people are at now. What is that
Yeah.
scene like there? Do you know, Kirk?
Well, I go there. Well, I haven't been there probably about 6 or 7 months. Um, it's really funny because right after the Electric Youth Tour, I was going to move there. I had friends say, "Hey, man, you should move to Nashville." I was like, I think I want to move into Brooklyn. And, I almost wish I did move to Nashville back then because it was just starting to really take off. And, so there's this movie. I think it's called, oh gosh, it's like something, a person missed their opportunity. It was like, the sliding door. I think it's called Sliding Door. Somebody might be able to mention it down below. But I was like, yeah, man, I blew that one, and I blew another one when I was younger. I told you about the Foreigner thing, right? Way back in the day. You know the band Foreigner?
Oh, Foreigner, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I screwed up on that. Not that I would have gotten it,
But it
but
was a shot, and you never know.
well, there was another one of those missed moments where it was a bad mistake. I was a cocky 17-year-old kid that just got out of high school, and I was playing in a band that had a record deal on Columbia Records. It's like 17 years old. I got a deal.
Yeah.
And we were opening shows for like Peter Frampton at the time, and Jay Giles, and I love Jay Giles,
Yeah.
by the way. And a friend of mine who was on our road crew left to go work for this other band uptown in New York City, and they didn't have a name. And he goes, Kirk, you should come and audition for this band. They have some good songs. I'm like, no, man, your band doesn't. This band that you're working with, they don't even have a record deal. They don't even have a name. And I got a record deal.
Uh-huh.
Hell do I know. So anyway, I went up there and I met with everybody and had a Heineken beer. I was underage. I might have been 18 at the time. I think I was probably 18. And I had drinking age was 18 at the time. So I'm talking with these guys. They're all from England. I'm like, this is weird. This is really cool. And I'm looking around and there's amplifiers from Leslie West's old stuff. I used to love Leslie West.
Mountain,
yeah.
Yeah.
His gear was there. Anyway, the band turned out to be Foreigner. And I remember the first time, because I heard the songs. I guess they were rehearsing them, and I never rehearsed with them at all because I was with a band that had a record deal.
Yeah.
Stupid me. What a dumbass. So anyway, it would have been fun just to audition for them. But anyway, I remember the song, and I remember the first time I was driving in my car on the Long Island Express. Actually, what happened was they were making the record, and something wasn't working out with their bass player. So my roadie guy, who used to work for us, asked if he could borrow a bass, and they used my bass to play on the song. And so I remember driving down the Long Island Express, Long Island, down. I can't even say it right anymore.
There goes the incision.
Yeah, the Long Island Expressway, and I hear. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Feels like the first time. I was like, Oh shit! I could not buy a foreigner record till probably about 2002. I was like, oh my god, what an idiot I was. That's so stupid, you know. But I had a record deal. We were dropped from the. It was really funny because we were dropped from the record label about 3 months later.
Oh shit! Oh
we
man!
didn't make anything, you know.
Yeah.
It was fun though. And then they went on to be another band. I think they played Donington maybe, but I had already left the band. So, but and actually the keyboard player from that band wrote a song for Cher with Michael Bolton. You'd have to look up the name of it. It was a big hit for her though. It was one of her first sort of rock hits. So.
No, good. That leads us right into it. Right
Those are
into
the old
something else.
That's the old shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Shit.
yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Foreigner's huge. You know.
dude, they're still playing. I don't think there's any of the original guys in the band right now, but still, Mick Jones I think plays with them occasionally.
Yeah, and sometimes he's there, and sometimes he's not. You know, it's a weird world we live in now.
I'm thinking that might have been 76, 77, but that was really my first. The American Tears band. That was the first time I actually got out of playing clubs and playing original music and making a record, which is really kind of cool. It was different back then. It was all analog and tape, and you had to play it right the first time. And if you didn't, you could punch in, but you had to know how to play. You had to know how to sing. It wasn't like in my studio thing here where I do sessions for people and I copy and paste. It's like I could fix that. I prefer to play it through all the way through the first time. But all right, that note could be a little bit better. So you could go back and punch it in and fix it, and then I send it off through my Dropbox to them. And technology is amazing. I mean, what I have in my home computer, it's a new I like Windows. I have a small Mac, but I like doing my music. I use Studio One, and I've just gotten used to it. I couldn't. I don't run a pro studio here. It's for myself to send bass tracks out. So I use Studio One. I have an RME interface, which is really nice. I have some good preamps and things like that, and that's all I need. And I talk with my friends all the time, and we're saying, when we started out, you would need a big room, with a console that's probably cost $100,000 or a couple $100,000. You need probably cost $1 million. Now you could do it with with a $1,500 computer, get a good monitor and I don't know, $1,000 worth of preamps. Just need a good preamp and a good microphone.
Yeah.
You can do anything, Even an SM57.
Yeah.
You have guys making records with an SM57. It's how you use your gear. You don't need to spend a lot of money.
And I'm glad you said that. Everybody is worried about spending and having the best when they need to worry about playing. You could keep your chops up.
You could do it with a laptop. You could do it with a laptop. You can make a hit record with a laptop these days.
Yeah.
Maybe even an iPad. No, I've never done it, but I use my computer and I have a lot of hard drive space, but it'll last me a long time.
And
you could add hot swap them, whatever.
And you're still doing sessions like that as well, and people can contact you if they want you to play on the album, a track, or what have you.
Through my website at kirkpowers.com.
There you go, and it'll be posted down below too, folks.
Yeah. I have it's probably best to contact me through that than instead of Facebook, because my Facebook thing gets so full of spam. Everybody's trying to sell like the greatest muscle building thing or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I wind up missing half the things, and I'll get back to somebody like a month or two later. I was like, man, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But my website's the best way to reach me.
And that's probably best all the way around. Facebook's kind of personal.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I have 2 different Facebook profiles. I won't talk about the other one. It goes out there.
Yeah.
But the Kirk Powers one is probably the safest one. I keep it okay there. That on my website. I have an Instagram, and I'll give you all the information for those.
Yeah.
That's all music stuff. I love posting pictures of my gear. Like I said earlier, I'm a gear whore. and I love trying new stuff. And what do I have coming? I have a new Line 6 thing coming pretty soon, which I'm looking forward to. Uh, and a new Ashdown amp coming. I think it's shipping this week. So looking forward to getting that. And now I'm looking for new speaker cabs. I've been using some Fender stuff. I still have my Gens Bends, which I use. I don't need a lot of gear unless I'm doing a local gig. It's really kind of weird, man, because I noticed when playing like in a large arena type gig, even back in the day, the monitors are so good there. You really don't even need a bass rig, but it's nice to have your tone.
Yeah.
And I found myself even like on a big stage, running my volume maybe on 3,
Yeah.
but then I get into a rock club, and my volume is probably like at 12 o'clock, noon, or 1 o'clock. For some reason, I wind up playing louder in a smaller room, and because you don't really have the monitors that are at least what I've
Yeah.
experienced. Maybe I'm not going to say they're all like that, but I
Yeah.
wind up playing louder, probably to play to the room than I do in a larger place. We did a gig. I was playing with Point Blank, and we opened some shows for Paul Rogers from Bad Company, and on that gig I used my SVT cabinet with an SVT head, and it was an arena. It was overkill. The stage monitors were so loud and so full. It was like, man, I could just turn this off and play through a DI, and I hear myself great.
Yeah.
It's me. Just
Yeah.
everybody has what they like.
And that I guess there's so many avenues. That was another. I guess I should back. Well, no, that's not back up. We can do whatever we want to do. Point Blank. How did that manifest?
Let's see. Yeah, they actually had a couple semi hits. One of them was "Mean to Your Queenie." That was kind of a cool song. And what was the other song they had? Oh gosh, I should know that. It's been a long. It's been. I didn't have any. I didn't have any sleep last night. I think I told you before we started this conversation.
Nicole, was it Nicole?
Nicole. That was kind of their hit.
I see.
Yeah, and "Mean to Your Queenie" was another. Nicole. Yeah, that was sort of the hit. I was friends with a guitar player for 20 years since I moved to Texas. Mouse Mays, really great guitar player, really nice guy. And he was playing with Point Blank after their guitar player died. And they were in Europe, and their bass player got cancer. And Phil Petty, really nice guy too. And he was going to be in the hospital, so they called me they were playing Sweden Rock, and he goes, "Hey man, would you be interested in coming to fill in?" And I said, absolutely. So they sent me the tapes, or CDs, MP3s over email. And, I just learned the material, and they asked me to come down to Austin. So, because I live north of Austin now. So I went into Austin to the rehearsal studio and just ran through the songs. There were about 4 or 5 other bass players there. And, I sang too. I did background vocals. I played the parts, nailed it. And they had a new drummer on that gig too. That just came into that rehearsal. But we knew our stuff. We played it down, and Rusty, the guitar player, just said, "That's our guy." So I said, "Well, awesome." So Rusty and I became pretty tight friends. It's really weird. We rehearsed for about a week or two. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane. We're flying to France because we flew into Nice, and we wound up playing in Monaco, which is absolutely. I mean, you talk about rich. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It's right on the Mediterranean Sea. Our hotels were incredible. I've never. It was. I heard 5-star. This is a 10-star hotel.
Yeah.
My room was right on the hairpin turn of, I guess it's the F1 car races. It's like Princess from Monaco was there, and yachts 500 feet long. They have like a 40-foot boat come out the side because that's the boat they use to go to shore.
Yeah.
I kid you not, it was the most incredible thing. So we did this gig, and flying over there, I was sitting next to Rusty on the plane, and I'd only known him for like 3 rehearsals, and so we didn't really know each other. But we're starting to take off, and the stewardess is coming down the aisle, and she goes, "Would you like anything to drink?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like a beer." And Rusty goes, "Yeah, I'll have a beer." And I go, "What type do you have?" And she goes, "Sir, we're Dutch Airlines. All we have is a Heineken." That was it. So I was like, "Cool, all right." So I'll take two. So she brought me two. So I was like, "All right." We didn't know. We got a pretty good buzz on that flight. And by the time we got to France, we were like best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that gig. And we did another gig over in I think Switzerland on that gig, and then we flew home. But him and Rusty and I hit it off really well. And then he had a sort of cover band thing that he used to do on the side. We would do, Hendrix and old school stuff our way.
Yeah.
Everything is super melodic, and we put a twist on everything that we did. So I played with him in a band for 5 years. Yeah. He was probably the greatest guitar player I've ever played with, almost like a cross between Jeff Beck and Steve Morse. It just, speed, but also great feel and just melody. Definitely the greatest guitar player I ever played with. Really nice guy too. Really down to earth.
Yeah, I have never heard anybody play like him or with his tone either. He certainly stood apart.
And left-handed and upside down. So I remember, when I was trying to learn the songs, I'm trying to say, okay, is that an E chord? What is that? Because it's completely backwards, upside down. But after about 4 or 5 months, it's like, oh, I know what chord he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
I know what he's doing. But, because, I love playing with that guy. Rusty Burns. Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
so I was Point Blank, and then Point Blank, we just, they were managed by Phil Ham, who did ZZ Top. So, and things just got a little bit weird when that started reemerging, and I just decided it's time for me to move along, and then the band just kind of went away after that.
Yeah, and Rusty ended up passing away.
Rusty passed away.
Yeah.
That was I still miss him to this day. Yeah, I think it's 6 years, probably 5 years now, 5-6 years.
Has it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it probably has been.
He died in 2016. So what's that? Yeah. In February, so 6 years. Mm-hmm.
Time leaves us, Kirk.
It does. It's funny, man, because he always wore that red hat.
Yeah,
and it was almost like a trademark.
Mm-hmm.
So Rusty Burns.
Yeah.
Dawn, he had the beard.
Yeah.
And he looked like a real mean dude.
Yeah, he did.
He had tats, and the beard and the red beret thing.
And the boots.
And the boots, and like the muscle shirts all the time, or like a leather thing. It's like, holy shit, this guy's like gonna kick my freaking ass. He was the most just peaceful, really nice man,
Yeah.
And Dawn would always call him Skinny Santa, and, because he had the beard and the red hat, and he used to love that, Yeah, Rusty Burns, awesome guy. Skinny Santa. Here's to you, Skinny Santa. I love you. I miss you, brother.
Mm-hmm. Now, you had, I don't know how that even come about, but you had mentioned Michael Bolton. Then you're thinking, where in the hell is this guy going with this? Let's go in a little bit.
I never played with Michael Bolton.
No. But Bruce Kulick did.
Bruce Kulick did, yes.
Let's, if you want to, talk about some of the other guys you had played with, like Bruce Kulick, Derek St. Holmes, not Lynch Mob, George Lynch, they
were all just a lot of them were just in passing.
But
like Bruce, he was from Long Island too, and I guess he had just joined Kiss maybe at the time. I don't recall, but he'd come down and see the band Maz. It's really weird because Mazarin had so many people pass through that band that, I think Brian Setzer might have played with them at one time, and all these people just come in, and so it was like the Grateful Dead. Everybody just came in and sat in with the band all the time. But Bruce Kulick did that back in the '80s, and we just chit chatted. And I used to go to this club in New York City called Trax. I think it was up on 71st and 72nd. There were always bands playing there that was sort of like new stuff, but rock, and every bands trying to get record deals, and a lot of the record company people would go there to see bands. And Bruce was there one day. And we're hanging out one day, and I go in there and there's Bruce. Hey, Bruce, what's going on? Hey, man, what's going on? And we hung out, had a drink or two, watched the band. He goes, hey, man, I live like right down the block. You want to come over for a while? So his brother was Bob Kulick, and Bob Kulick was like this heavy duty session player.
Yes.
And I had no idea, but I see, I walk into his house, his apartment, and it was like all these posters. I'm like, holy shit, I don't know he played with him. I don't know. It's like, wow, this is really freaking crazy. And Bruce was playing with Kiss at the time. I was like, but I knew him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he had like a little Tascam 4-track. So we just sat down, we jammed, and he wrote some songs, and I'm sure they made it to one of the Kiss records, whatever it was. I don't remember what I played. It was just a lot of 8 notes.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That was that. And then let's see, George Lynch. Yeah, that I was called by a local Texas guy who puts together these rock shows, and George Lynch needed a bass player and a drummer. So Mike Gage, my buddy drummer, and myself were sort of like the guys to call. So we did a sort of a showcase thing with George Lynch for, I think it was Local Magazine. I can't remember, man. I'm terrible with all the details.
Sure.
But and that went really well. We wound up doing a few Bad Company songs, and some of them went on for about a half an hour.
Wow!
We're gonna end this friggin' song.
Yeah.
And George, I don't know if he still does it, but he would never face the audience. He'd be like looking at me, or have his back to the audience. I'm thinking, is he okay? It's like, am I fucking up or something? Like, is it okay?
Does he have a pick in his trachea?
Yeah. Exactly.
What's up, man?
Is he gonna throw up?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? I don't know. But no, it was so. So then when he came to town to do the Texas, I guess it's called the Dallas Guitar Show, Dallas Vintage Guitar Show. They have one in Arlington, probably this spring, and then the big one is usually around October, and that's in Dallas. And like I said earlier, I mean, thousands and thousands of people come to this. It's a 3-day event, and you want to see some pricey vintage guitars, Les Pauls, $300,000, $25,000, and then there's a lot of consumer stuff, but I was like, man, everything's out of my ballpark. I was like, all right, I'm not going to spend 15 grand on a bass, not ever.
Yeah.
Although some people do.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not going to do that. But my Fender or my Levica Polars, they're fine. So anyway, they asked us to, Mike Gage and I, to play with George again. So we did that. Did it a few years in a row, and then probably that same week, Derek St. Holmes, he played with Nugent, and did a few years with him too. And we'll run into each other at the NAMM show, and how's it going? Blah 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 blah. Yeah. But he's a cool guy. He's a great player. He's another guy with really good guitar sound.
Ted loves it.
I bet, right?
Yeah, Ted Nugent goes, this guy has a tone that's just unstoppable, and he does.
Good too.
Oh, yeah. And he's responsible for Stranglehold. He wrote it and all of it, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. But, we did that song. And I used the Small Stone phaser to get that to do the song right.
Yeah.
And I just remember him turning to me and he goes, turn up the bass. It's like, okay.
It's like, you're my new best friend.
I'd say, I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he was like, the star guy at the show, so I didn't want to but he goes, turn up the bass. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. I can do that.
And that, that video's online too.
Yeah, there was a couple years. The sound's never really good at that because it's always somebody shooting it with an iPhone or something.
Yeah.
And the one year, the room that we were in was really echoey. One year we played outside, and that's the one that sounded really good. And then one year we played sort of in the hall. I think it was raining outside, and that was just an echo chamber, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I got up there and stood next to him, and was it me? Yeah, it was me, George Lynch, and we were like, doing the rock pose thing with the 3 guitars, like a Molly Hatchet thing.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah, we had a good time.
Did you ever meet Ahmet Ertegun?
I did meet Ahmet.
Somebody
He
said that dude was a brilliant man.
I would think he is. Look at,
Yeah.
I mean, the Honey Drippers, when they did that record, if you look at the producer, I believe it's his name spelled backwards. If you look at the
I
Honey Drippers
never knew
record,
that.
yeah,
With
if you
Robert Plant?
was Robert Plant, I think it was called the Honey Drippers.
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
If I believe that's the record. If you look at it's Ahmet Ertegun spelled backwards, if I am not mistaken. So you got to
I
figure that
never.
out. I can't do the
Yeah.
math right
Oh
now.
no, that's an
Yeah.
odd name forward. You know.
He it was funny because I would go over to the Gibson's house often, and Ahmet Ertegun came over. But I don't know why everybody was over there. It might have been a house party or something, and they had a place up on the North Shore. So, Ahmet was there, and Diane Gibson goes, "Kirk, could you give Ahmet a tour of the studio?" Well, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, "All right, come with me." So, we went up the stairs, went across the walkway, and brought him into the studio. I showed him, showed him the whole place, told him what it was. He was real cool. He was chilled. Little gray, like, goatee beard
Yeah.
thing, quiet spoken. But, he had that look of extreme wealth.
I see.
It's just,
Yeah.
just that look, like his
Yeah.
skin was like probably had it done nice, and probably had like a $500 haircut, it was like a $3,000 suit.
Yeah.
But a total gentleman, really soft spoken, and freaking Ahmet Ertegun.
Yeah.
It's fun, just because like 3 years before that, I was looking at the Honey Drippers record and other things, and knowing what Ahmet Ertegun had done, and here I am, I'm giving him a tour of the studio, and it's like, hey, you want some chicken? Want a sandwich? I get you a sandwich too. No, that's right. I'll get here's a soda for you. Fuck.
Yeah.
Ahmet Ertegun. Yeah.
He's the president, owner, whatever you want to call it, of Atlantic Records. The dude's not shabby. Zeppelin was
not
on
at
that
all.
label. I mean, just gobs of people was on that label. Deb was on that label.
Ruth Brown. I mean,
Oh yeah.
God. I mean, it's almost my whole music upbringing was on Atlantic Records in one form, shape, or another.
Yeah.
The Warner Electra Asylum, I guess, is Warner Electra Group. It was huge. They had everybody.
Yeah.
I guess was Bad Company on that. No, I don't think they were.
I'm not sure about Bad Company.
But it was Atlantic and Atco. Atco had a lot of. That was like a little subsidiary.
I see.
So, and that was Atco was like the baby puppy of Atlantic Records. But yeah, Ahmet Ertegun. Yeah, he was a pretty cool guy. I was kind of nervous. It's like, hey, can you show Michael Jackson can you show Michael Jackson the bathroom?
Yeah.
What, me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, man. Ahmet Ertegun.
What was some or one of the most embarrassing moments you had?
I knew you'd ask one of those. Yeah, this is pretty embarrassing, but funny too.
Yeah.
It's probably you'd definitely be funnier if you were there.
Yeah.
Let's see. The most embarrassing was the old bass string tying up the muffler trick. Here we are, Los Angeles, playing the LA Forum, right? That's a big place. It's like the Madison Square Garden of the West Coast. Adam and I were at the hotel, and we wanted to get out for the day. So we went next door to the car rental place, and all they had was, I think it was like a Lamborghini, and this other car. The Lamborghini, I think they wanted like $800 a day. And I was like, no, I'm frugal. I'm not spending $800 for rent. If I fuck it up, I'm in trouble.
Big trouble, yeah.
Yeah. So the other car they had was a Yugo. Now I don't know if any of you listeners know what a Yugo is, but it's a little tiny car, smaller than a Volkswagen. I think it might have been three cylinders, maybe. And,
I think a lot of people had them.
Yeah, and it was like a tin bucket. It wasn't built well. It was really rocky, shaky. You could hear the road underneath coming through the sound as you're driving. I think it was probably like $22 to rent it for the day. This is in LA, so
Yeah.
you probably get it for $10 everywhere else. So we get the Yugo, and So we spend the day, we're driving up in the Hollywood Hills, you know, blah, blah, blah. We're going around. We went down to the beach. And then we go back to the hotel, and it's time to go to the show. So everybody else got to either in the vans or whatever take us from the hotel, maybe the tour buses. It was the tour buses. It varied from gig to gig. And we said, we're going to follow you. So we follow them in the Yugo. And, you know, when you get to the arena, like they have those concrete ramps that go down, and you can park the tour buses down, you know, underneath the venue. And it's like an underground parking garage. So we go down there, we pull in. You know, we do the sound check, we do the show. We do whatever, we get done, show's over. So we get behind the tour buses that's going to pull out. So the tour bus pulls out, and on either side of the concrete, there's this big fence, and all Debbie's fans are along the side there, you know, and they're like, Debbie, 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 hey, Debbie, Debbie. And actually, there were signs like, Kirk, hey, Kirk. I was like, man, I go into the mall when I was home. I was like, people knew who we were. In videos. Like, this is cool. This is crazy.
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be her, though. It's like that's a hard job. You know?
Absolutely,
anyway,
yeah.
So anyway, the tour bus is pulling out of the ramp, and Adam and I in our Yugo going up the ramp to come out, and the muffler fell off the car. And right in the middle of the driveway. I'm like, son of a bitch. And you see this thing dragging. I was like, this is crazy. So I get out of the car, and I had my bass in a gig bag with me. So I pulled the low B string off my 5 string, and all the fans are up there watching us. Like, I crawled into the car, and I took my bass string, and I wrapped around the muffler, and I tied it up. And we went on our way, and we pulled out of there. Pop, 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 pop. I was like, man, that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Yeah, look at these guys, man. They're driving in a Yugo.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew what it was. Yeah, I drove one of those. It was fun. Hey, we got a story out of it, though.
Yeah, and when you told it the other night, it was like, oh, I'm trying not to laugh, you know. It's like it's hurting, but that's funny because you think rock star, huge lifestyle, and, you know, you and the sax player are, you know, it's a funny story.
We're just burger flippers. You know,
yeah.
It's like we're just normal guys.
You absolutely, yeah.
But honestly, it was embarrassing. I was like, oh man, this is really embarrassing. You know, you're still coming down off the adrenaline. It's like, now I'm crawling under the car with a friggin' tying up the friggin' muffler in this Yugo. And it's like, barely making it up the hill. Like, man, this is terrible. Let's just like get out of here, man.
Hit stop. All
right. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, man. I just want to tell everybody, thank you for tuning in, listening, and listening to my crazy stories.
Thank you for being here with us, Kirk. It means a lot to me. It really does, and the stories are great.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad I told you the guitar pick story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You probably just told everybody else too, which is a good thing.
Debbie told it to. She was on Larry King the day when we were in Atlanta, Georgia, like a couple days later. You remember the talk show host, Larry King?
I do.
Yeah, so she was talking about that. And on the record after, what was the first one after? Body, Mind, Soul? What was the one? Anything is Possible?
Anything is Possible, then Body, Mind, Soul. Then after that, I was kind of gone.
Yeah, Anything is Possible. There's a thing on there that says, I want to thank this one, that one, and Kirk, I'll have some fries with my pick.
Oh, no. I'll have to look that up. Is that in the liner notes?
I believe it's in the liner notes. Yeah, Kirk, I'll have some fries with my pick. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll have some fries with that. Yeah. I was a French fry king back then. I love French fries.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kirk.
My pleasure, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody else for listening and joining us. And I thank you for inviting me. I had a fun time.
You heard it from him, folks. Exactly. You heard it from him, folks. Thank you. And as I always say, J. Neal out. Bye.
Right on.
That's done.
Good night. Thank you. And that's a wrap